I'm live. Yay. Hello, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are on the planet. My name is Melinda Jacobs. I am a trauma-informed coach and counselor and healer, spiritual advisor, writer, teacher, author, all the things. I do all the things. And I created this amazing course called Awakening Your Emotional Intelligence, Feel, Heal, and Transform. I wanted to do this privately, and I was inspired, guided to share this information publicly and at no charge. How lovely for all the world to have this information, because honestly, I look out on the planet and I see what's happening. And there's such a lack of emotional intelligence. And so this is my best effort to bring some awareness onto the planet, to up level and educate all of us, because emotional intelligence was something that generally for most people has not been talked about. So let's dive in, shall we? I'm going to close a couple of these windows because it looks like I'm having some delays. So maybe if we do this, that might benefit us a little bit. Okay. I don't know. Maybe. Yeah, that's a little better. All right. So last week, we talked about getting a clear idea of who and how you want to be in the world. And I gave you a long list of ways that demonstrate someone's lack of emotional intelligence, and then ways that someone who has more developed emotional intelligence, how they are in the world. And I talked about how those old ways, who we used to be by default, by lack of understanding and education, those are the rumble strips on the side of the road that help us know when we're veering off the path. Those qualities and traits of someone who has developed a high emotional intelligence, that's the path. That's where we want to align to. That's what we want to focus on. So if you need to go back and watch that video, please do. It's in my Facebook. It's in my YouTube. It's there for you to go back again and again. Because when we are clear about who and how we want to be, then we can keep our sights on it. We can actually aim our actions and our thoughts and our feelings and our words in that direction. So today we're going to dive a little deeper. We're going to talk about what actually is emotional intelligence. And I talked last time about the power of quotes. It holds the energy. And so one of the things I love about my courses and the inspiration of how they come through is that it's a very relaxed environment where we're just gathering and we're having just a deep conversation. Yes, we're sharing information. And I believe that I come in not only as the mouthpiece for this consciousness, but I too am a student. And everybody in the room, you included right now, you're the student, but you're also the master. You're also the teacher, because we all hold wisdom. And how powerful is that we can start to recognize our own limitations, that we can always grow, we can always learn a little bit more. That's that humbling piece. But to also appreciate the value of our life journey and the wisdom that we learn along the way. And that's how my courses are really designed, is to come in, all of us, equals as students and masters. I love that. One other thing before I dive. This is my gift to you, absolutely. And if you want to share your appreciation back and help practice the law of circulation and support me continuing to do this in this way, I would very much appreciate love offerings, Melinda at mvjacobs.com. All right. So the quotes that I share hold the consciousness, it holds the wisdom. And so the quote itself becomes the master in the room, the teacher in the room. And sometimes it's like a warm fire. We just need to be in the presence of the energy of what's being held in this quote. So we're going to start with Aristotle. Aristotle says, anyone can become angry. That is easy. But to be angry with the right person to the right degree, at the right time, for the right purpose, and in the right way, that is not easy. And I think that quote says everything about where we are collectively as a society, as humanity, is that I don't believe that, number one, that we're ever being angry with the right person. Because oftentimes in the work that I do with people, someone is so angry that some boundary was violated. And it's like, oh, I can't believe they asked this. I can't believe they did that. I can't believe they didn't do that. But when we unpack it and we pull those layers back, that anger is almost always going to be at ourselves. Now I'm talking interpersonal relationships right now, because we didn't hold the boundary, we didn't honor ourselves, we didn't take care of ourselves, we gave away our power for all those reasons, right? And so to be angry at the right person, it's important to look at, and how did I participate in this? Well, it's huge. To the right degree. Our bodies are opportunistic. And when we suppress energy and suppress emotions and suppress trauma, the body does not like having energy shoved into it like that. And so it's going to find opportunities to off gas some of that suppressed, repressed energy. Road rage is a great example of that. To the right degree, someone cuts you off. Does it really warrant you screaming at them? I'm not saying that you do this. It doesn't warrant being screamed at. Like the people that just go off, I guarantee you what the anger is about is more than that moment. It's more than what that situation is. It's just the body saw an opportunity. There was a little hole in the dam. And it's like, ooh, you're angry about this. Well, here's, 20 years of anger, and we're going to put it into this space as well. So I think this is a very powerful quote that speaks to how important emotional intelligence can be when we really, really pick this apart, and how different life can be. Part of my desire to do this course with you in this way is because this to me is sacred activism. I'm not someone that's going to go protest, although I was in a couple protests lately, but that's generally not my style. Like, that's not where I feel called. But I do feel called to do something, and to start helping people understand how to better be with themselves, so that all that repressed energy isn't spiking out into the world. It's going to make the world better. I guarantee it'll make your relationships better. I guarantee you your health's going to get better. And as a result, because we're all interconnected, because we are this beautiful woven fabric of humanity, when one person changes, it changes everything. And so if we decompensate and we get more dysfunctional, that's going to change everything too. So we get to recognize the value that we bring to the collective, to the world, to our relationships, to our work environments, to the people in our circles, to our families. And we can either keep everything status quo and stay unconscious and not change at all. We can get even more dysfunctional and continue to pass on generational trauma. I'm not a fan of that. Or we can start recognizing within ourselves where we can shift. So let's go to defining what is emotional intelligence. Let me get to that. Really? There it is. My little, okay. What is happening here? My PowerPoint is just all over the place. All right, so this is the definition. So take a breath. And I'm going to break it down because it's in pieces and chunks. So emotional intelligence is the ability to identify, understand, manage, and influence emotions in oneself and others. I'll go through that again. It's the ability to identify emotions in yourself and other people. How many times I've sat with people and said, "How are you doing? What's going on?" And they've said, "I don't know." That speaks to a lack of being able to identify and have self-awareness of what you're feeling. For those of you who have followed me, for those of you who know me, I was late diagnosed autistic, and I definitely have what they call alexithymia, the inability to recognize and identify emotions. But I studied it and I learned over years. And what I didn't realize is when I watch TV, I'm studying emotions. I'm actually like, "Ooh, what's that feeling?" And then they'll say what it is. I'm like, "Okay, that's anger. Got it." And so over time, I have up-leveled my own emotional intelligence to just be able to identify feelings. And we're going to talk about later on in other classes what that looks like, how to do that. Emotional intelligence is the ability to understand emotions in yourself and others. I call it context, having context for why you're feeling what you're feeling. Why am I feeling so sad? Why am I feeling so angry? Why am I feeling so hurt? To be able to understand the why and the context improves and helps and up-levels everything. The ability to manage our emotions. Oh my gosh, learning to self-regulate is a huge, huge deal. And again, it's something I'm gonna bring to you. I'm gonna teach you that. And then how to influence the emotions in yourself and others. Dr. Joe Dispenza talks about you have to think greater than your body, which means your body becomes addicted to the chemicals produced by feelings. If we feel it over and over and over again, our body becomes addicted to that chemical. And we become addicted to feeling crappy. We become addicted to feeling sad, depressed, feeling helpless and hopeless, feeling guilty and ashamed. We actually become addicted to that. And to be able to influence how you feel and change it, freedom. You're no longer victim to what you're feeling. That is powerful. And to be able to influence intentionally, consciously, and for the good of all other people's feelings is a powerful, powerful thing. I have a friend who is master at this, and we worked together years ago at a massage school. And there was a very intense conversation happening, and people were shutting down. And her invitation was really simple. How about let's go walk outside? Let's go outside for a minute. Let's just go get a breath of fresh air. She was able to understand what was happening in the room. She was able to recognize people were shutting down, and without being manipulative or dismissive, she was able to shift the energy that opened it back up and allowed us to really have a powerful, constructive conversation. I saw that and I'm like, wow, that's mastery. That was masterful. And it wasn't let's get away from the conversation. It was let's shift this energy in a way where we can get through this conversation. That's amazing. That's amazing. So as I've told you, I'm not giving you the whole course, but I'm giving you snippets of it. And so one of the topics I want to share today beyond the definition are the 5 key components of emotional intelligence. And so these are the 5 areas that if one of these sound like, ooh, I feel like I'd really like to work on that, pick one. Just pick one. The 5 key components are this: self-awareness, self-regulation, motivation, empathy, and social skills. Okay, we're going to go through them just a little bit at a time. So first off, the components of emotional intelligence is self-awareness. So like I've said, to be aware of what you're feeling and how you're feeling is a very powerful thing. It is the key. There's so many keys to all of this, but it's one of those powerful keys to start becoming the master and not so much the victim. Last week, I shared how what we think is dictates what we feel, because when we think, the body produces chemicals, and then we have a feeling based on those chemicals, and then based on that feeling, we then have another thought. And generally, what I see for most people is, oh, the world is so awful. Oh, my diet. Oh, my finances. Oh, my relationship. And it's just a downward spiral. And then we feel shame and guilt and frustrated and angry and helpless and hopeless. And then that spurs the next thought, I'll never get out of this. And around it goes. So when we have self-awareness, we can start to step out of those cycles. And we can start upregulating ourselves and our feelings into a better biochemistry, as well as a better mindset, more motivation, better mood, better relationships. I'm not a fan of the word happy wife, happy life. I'm just happy people, happy life, right? And so when we can be aware of ourselves, we're going to improve our own health, our own well-being, and that ripples out. Make no mistake, beloved, you, no matter how isolated you are, you impact the world and you make a difference. And that's an important thing to remember. Self-regulation. Oof. Hi, did I mention I was autistic? Self-regulation is a real challenge. And what I didn't realize was, nobody taught me this stuff. I was not raised in a home with the awareness that I have a nervous system, and that nervous system can get overwhelmed. And there's ways to soothe that nervous system that are beyond food. There are ways to comfort the nervous system in a way that helps me find my center again. Nobody taught me that. I had to figure that out on myself, on my own. I remember I was working with a coach, a therapist, and she had a weighted blanket. And she put the weighted blanket on me, and it was like someone just flipped a switch. It was like magic. And I had no idea. I'm like, what just happened? Like everything just went like this, just got calm. It's like my body took a big exhale. And I was like, oh, that was amazing. And so now there's lots of sensory products, because lots of people have nervous systems. In fact, everybody has a nervous system. And everybody could use some soothing and some better skills for how to calm that nervous system. So learning self-regulation is a big part of up-leveling your emotional intelligence. Does that one sound interesting to you? What about motivation? Emotional intelligence is this aspect of motivation says that we learn to motivate ourselves internally because we want a better life, because we want better health. But oftentimes we're motivated from the external, like we're feeling ashamed, or we feel like we should be better, or, there's something that's being spoken outside that it's like, oh, I better do this, or we're being pushed and dragged and we're in resistance and all the things. But someone who is an emotionally intelligent being recognizes and understands within themselves the benefits of self-care, the benefits of learning to regulate their nervous system, understands and recognizes the benefits of being able to process grief or anger, or how to pause before they speak or send a text or an email. like that internal motivation, because it betters you, because it betters your relationships and your health and your community in the world. That's an up-leveling of emotional intelligence. Oh, there is an empathy piece here that comes with emotional intelligence. I was born an empath. I am highly, highly, highly sensitive. I feel everything around me to the nth degree. And to be an empath and feel what other people feel, I think is slightly different than having empathy for someone. Being an empath means I feel, but being empathetic means I understand what they're experiencing. I have a connection and an understanding and an awareness of what's happening on the other side of the conversation. And I can respond accordingly based on that. I don't see a lot of this happening right now. I think that we could all benefit from demonstrating more empathy for other people's struggles, even if I don't understand their point of view. I can look at the other side of the aisle and I can have empathy for the frustration that they're feeling on the other side of the aisle. I don't have to agree with it, but I can absolutely be empathetic of, that looks, you're having a hard time. You're frustrated too. I see that. I can recognize that. And to be seen and heard and understood, I got to tell you, is one of the most powerful things that we can do to start building bridges across the chasm of the separation that we're in right now. Whether you're feeling that separation within your own relationship, if you're feeling it within your community, if you're feeling it within the country, if you're feeling it within the world, there's ways to bridge it. And empathy is a very powerful one. Did I mention sacred activism? When we up-level these within ourselves, we really do begin to heal years and generations of discourse and dis-ease. The last component of emotional intelligence for this course, for what I am teaching and bringing, is social skills. Now, I feel a little bit like a hypocrite. I have to say, I'm going to admit that. I notice within myself, check me out, the little self-awareness, that I feel that I am not the best person to talk about social skills. But maybe I am, because you know what? I've studied them my whole life to figure it out. This is what you do. This is what's acceptable. This is, what's unacceptable. I have studied my whole life just trying to feel into and figure out what is socially acceptable, what's not, and to have those skills of communication. So was it something that was innate for me? Was it initially something that was there? No, I have worked for years and I still stumble and I still bumble my way through. And there are times when I'm still very socially inappropriate and awkward, but you know what? I'm trying. And I think that's really what it comes down to when we are looking at any one of these components, whether it's self-awareness, self-regulation, motivation, empathy, social skills. It's not about getting it all right, because we're not going to. It's just recognizing that we individually and we collectively are holding a massive deficit. I've heard it so many times. How did we get here again? Talking about the divide and the lack of care and concern and kindness for humanity. How did we get here again? Where people are in cages. How did we get here? This is how. Is we haven't developed these within ourselves individually and collectively. We didn't make them a priority. And I know for me, that as I sit and marinate in this information and in the consciousness of awakening my emotional intelligence, I've become a better person. I have become kinder. I have become more patient. I have better boundaries. I self-regulate so much better. I've actually had some courageous conversations where I called out someone's really bad behavior. It was really disrespectful. I felt so disrespected. And I said, you know what? That's not okay. And rather than, this is my old emotional intelligence. We talked about this last week. Let me see if I pulled up really quick. Um, da, 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 da. Withdraw or ghost in conflict instead of engaging. That was how I used to do it. And I'm so proud. Just last week, folks, I up-leveled my emotional intelligence. Someone was very, very disrespectful. And I sat with it for a couple days, really tried to sort it out within myself, because I honestly don't feel like I have to bring everything to the table every time so that I feel disrespected, because most of the time it's just my stuff. But this time it was like, no, this is going to hurt their business. This is going to, if nobody knows about it, there's no way that this is going to get better, and this is how it's going to continue, and this is going to impact their business. I wanted to help them. I wanted to come from that place of bringing some self-awareness to them. And so I made a phone call and I said, hey, I just want you to be aware that this is what happened, and this is what was said, and this is how it was said. And I've never felt so disrespected, and I've never had a more unprofessional exchange ever. And by that afternoon, I got an apology. Granted, it was a really shit apology, but you know what? It was an apology. We'll let it be. And a bridge was made, and we were able to mend that upset. And so I'm going to take that as a huge win for me, even though it wasn't the apology I would have liked, even though there was still a large amount of lack of emotional intelligence that was being demonstrated on their side. I don't have to fix them. It's not my job to educate them. Like, I brought a little awareness to them, and there you go. But I stood up for myself, and there was a great outcome. So I really believe that we can build a better world when we up-level these within ourselves. We can build a better world when we learn to be more self-reflective, to have more self-regulation, not just spiking out and spewing hatred and bigotry and anger out into the world. The world doesn't need any more gasoline, folks. It really doesn't. We need to stop pouring and fueling the fires. Just those two components of emotional intelligence, self-awareness and self-regulation, would dial down the intensity significantly. So again, thank you for showing up. If this is supporting you, please share the videos. This is how you can support this work. If you feel motivated, you can send a love offering. That would be very, very kind of you. Not necessary. This is my gift to you. Because I listen, because I am here by divine appointment, as are you. We all have the thing that we can do, and this is what I can do. So please join me next week. Put it on your calendar. We're going to go through this, little bit by little bit. I don't know, maybe 8-9 weeks or so of this. And then you can watch the recordings after the fact. And I just so appreciate you for showing up, for you, for your health, for your well-being, for your relationships, for your career, for the good that you're here to do, for your community, for your country, and for the world. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. If you need support, I'm here for it. You can find out all sorts of information. I offer 30-minute complimentary consults. And so you can go to mvjacobs.com and set that up. You can call me, and I would be happy, thrilled to be in your corner to support you in up-leveling your own emotional intelligence, beloved, because I know my world's gotten a lot better. just as a result of this information. And I know yours can too. And I know our world, we can do this better. All right, loves, we will see you soon. Take good care of you. Above all things, please be kind. See you soon.